So Lilo and Stitch is a science fiction comedy adventure live action remake of the incredible and beloved animated movie. And I really wanted to absolutely love this movie, as I think the original classic is just such a brilliant film, as it deals with such relatable topics in a really endearing and super emotional level. For example, about loss, found family, rejection, and building relationships with both new people in your life as well as rebuilding relationships with people in your past. And whilst this movie no doubt does have pockets of moments that will definitely make you smile, and it is a bit of a new remake and a new take on the original classic instead of being practically a frame by frame remake like The Lion King was. But the trouble is that they just butchered the original so much and just watered down so many moments that made the original so iconic that you just can't help but feel really disappointed by the end product, as it could have been so good. In a very similar way to how Aladdin, I honestly think Aladdin, the live action remake, is so good because they do new things with the material. Fair enough, there's some things that they definitely don't get right, for example Jafar, what they did with Iago, but for the most part that movie was absolutely flawless, and I just wish that Lilo and Stitch was the same. So let's go through 6 reasons why Lilo and Stitch the live action remake is not that great. The first reason is that they just reduced Stitch's presence so much in this film. I mean, the thing that made him really endearing in the first movie is his growth trajectory. So in the beginning, he is absolutely wild, he's really chaotic, causing so much destruction, and even unintentionally causing a bit of a rift between Nani and Lilo. Whereas in this one, he is just treated like an absolute pet, and he just becomes a good guy way too quickly. And whereas the first movie was really sophisticated in terms of truly being an all ages movie, this time you can just see that all of these changes, namely reducing Stitch into a bit of a dog type character, is just clearly making it into a kids movie. Next, they of course removed Captain Gantu, who was such a brilliant character. I mean, I know they explained the reason why was due to budgetary reasons, and they kind of gave some of these aspects of the roles to the other aliens, but in doing so they have just removed any sense of jeopardy, any sense of danger, and it wasn't replaced like for like, as there is no sense of dread really, which just really takes away from this movie. And next, by that same token, the new characters that they have introduced, namely the neighbor and the social worker, have just removed some of the brilliant storyline material for Nani, and they themselves don't really contribute or add much to the storyline at all, so they have literally just detracted from it. Next, in terms of removing a sense of dread, they also did that from a human point of view in terms of massively reducing Cobra Bubble's role, as this guy is not intimidating in the slightest. Now, I know they were trying to be really clever in terms of the final reveal of the animated movie is that he's a bit of a CIA agent and has worked with aliens before, and so they wanted to bring that particular storyline aspect earlier on in the movie. However, the execution just was not slick, wasn't suave, wasn't cool, and again, it just detracted from this character. And also removed one of the best opening sequences ever. They could have had so much comedy with that opening if Cobra Bubbles was actually in it. Next, they completely removed the Ugly Duckling references, so there is no real link in terms of the heart and soul of Stitch being in this found family, and so the line at the end just felt so forced and wasn't earned in the same way at all. And next, building off that point, they just rushed through so many iconic lines of dialogue in a way that was more of a tick box instead of just being a real emotional moment. So there was no climactic build up to those brilliant lines being used, and instead it was just lip service. So let's go through all of the characters now. So credit where credit's due. I feel like the animators have done a really good job with Stitch. He looks absolutely brilliant. His movement is really wicked. I love when he is just climbing all over the place. Those sequences are really good. It's just such a shame that they've reduced the impact that this character really could have and should have had. I mean, he should have been the hero of this movie, but instead him and all of the other characters were just watered down so much to the detriment of this film. I thought Lilo was fine in this movie. Again, they really did reduce all of the emotional connection that she had in terms of losing her parents, and that this was the main reason that she was acting out so much in the animated movie. And then because of this, you can really see that Lilo and Stitch really are two lost souls, and that they are the only people that can help each other. But instead, they just turn Lilo and Stitch's relationship into a bit of a pet owner and pet relationship friendship was just robbed both characters. And I was just really gutted that Lilo's emotional connection with her lost parents just wasn't explored in the same way, as your heart really is breaking for Lilo, especially when she is explaining to Stitch that, you know, her family is broken, it's so much smaller than it used to be, but it still does function. And then when Stitch repeats this line right at the end of the movie, it's so emotional. So the fact that Stitch still says that in the live action remake without all of this setup just reduces the impact massively. Nani, I feel like she was watered down the most out of all of the characters because she was so good in the original. Someone that you can really identify with in terms of trying so hard to spin all of the plates and keep them all afloat. And even though Lilo, who is a bit of her sister slash daughter figure in the previous movie, she is just happy to withstand all of that and is in constant solution finding mode, and despite all of the things that are constantly coming her way. Whereas in this one, having a bit of a conflict in terms of her deciding to stay with Lilo instead of really following her dreams, I just feel like changed so much of the motivation of this character. And in addition to that, they just gave so many of her storyline connections with Lilo to the neighbor and the social worker, and neither of them were able to bring anything new or fresh to the plot. I thought the boyfriend was still as bashful as he was in the original. I feel like some of his lines were really funny, but they didn't really use him at all. But I guess they didn't really use him in the animated one either. I think the aliens were really cringe. I mean, they obviously turned them into humans so that they can save a lot on the budget, but they could have used that aspect in a bit more of a clever way, but instead they just tried to opt for slapstick humor, but none of it landed, and so it was really cringe. And also the creator, I feel like there was a bit more conflict in his original story in the animation, as he obviously created Stitch, so he's got that emotional connection, he knows him inside out, yet he is happy to capture him to fight for his freedom, and they completely removed that plot from this movie, which was just so bizarre. And then when they did revert back to their alien form right at the end of this movie, it was so badly rendered that it just felt so unfinished. So overall, I appreciate that they were trying to do something new with this live action remake, but they just ultimately ended up watering down so many of the things that made the original animation so iconic and so great. And they have said that they have got more sequels planned and coming, and I guess they do have so much material with sequel movies and the brilliant TV series. It must be so weird as their original creator and director has returned to voice Stitch and is now seeing his beautiful work and creation just be butchered so much. So whilst I wish that the live action remake of Lilo and Stitch was going to be the best thing that Disney ever created for what they have done, I feel like I'm being generous in giving it a 3.5 out of 10. Now I'd love to hear from you. What did you think of Lilo and Stitch, the live action remake? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.